I wanted to just once again welcome everybody to our career prep series. This week's theme is landing the job you want. And today's session is on job searching 101. And our guest today is Alex Ruedger from Feyen Zylstra. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Alex.
Perfect. Let me pull up the presentation real quick. We good? Everyone can see it?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. So essentially today, like you said, we're talking about job searching 101. What I'm hoping that I can deliver to everyone listening today is that job searching is tough. It's hard. It's almost a job in itself to do. So all the frustrations you all feel about job hunting is more than valid. But hopefully I can give you some tips, some tricks to do it smarter. And so you work a little less harder and you can find the job that you're looking for. So what I'm going to cover, just to begin, the company I work for. What do we do? Why do we exist? And then who am I? Why do I have authority to speak about job hunting and give you advice? Then we'll talk about how you begin your job search, just some good pre-planning preparatory stuff to do, some job search engine tips, so you're actually finding the jobs that you want to find online. And then how do you qualify a job? If you find a job that you like online, how do you know, hey, this is something that I can apply for and have a good shot of actually being considered for? After that, we'll take any questions, and I'm definitely hoping to get some good feedback from you. So let's begin. First off, I work for Feyen Zylstra. We've been in the West Michigan area for about 40 years now, and what we do is electrical and automation services. That means from a hiring standpoint, I hire electricians to do like electrical construction and service work. I also hire engineers to do like controls, robotics engineering work, programmers that program those robots. And I also hire, the accounting, the IT staff, the purchasing, all those support services that every company is going to have. So if you're looking for something entry level, a skilled trade or professional job, our company hires for it. And well, I've done it before. We have about 550 people in our current company, and over half of them work in the West Michigan area. So we do a lot of hiring in the community also. So why do we exist? And why do all companies exist? Ideally, to have a positive impact on their communities and people that work in there. At the end of the day, a mom and pop company, GE, Pepsi, we're all organizations. We're groups of people in a community that are trying to do something good or create something that's bigger than the individual as a whole. And that's something important to keep in mind in a job hunt, because the recruiters, the individuals that are looking at your resume, they're just looking for people. They're not a giant monolith. They're a person looking for a good fit for their company. And ideally, they want to do a good job by hiring someone and giving them good opportunity. And sometimes when you're job hunting, it's hard to keep in mind that there is an actual person behind all of those application screens that you're looking at. So a little about me. I've been a West Michigan recruiter for over 5 years now. I've done entry level, like straight out of high school positions. Again, I do a lot in the skilled trades and a lot of post-college positions also. And I can tell you with confidence that all three avenues, you can have success in your career. You can build a career in all three. There's not a one avenue fits all kind of situation for each individual. In terms of my college, I went to Central Michigan University. It's important for me to bring this up because I actually did not know what I wanted to do outside of high school. Initially, I went to Central to study film. I'm kind of a cinephile. I wanted to go into film studies. I quickly realized if you want to go into film production, you don't have to go to college. It's not the right pathway for you. So I graduated with a degree in finance, business communications. I became a recruiter. I love my job path. I have a lot of friends that went down that film studies path. They didn't go to college. They're equally as successful. So I just highlight that to show that, again, there is no one path fits all for everyone. You can find your own career path. The key is to work hard, be tenacious, and have goals. So jumping into the actual job hunting 101, the first thing I want to focus on is pre-planning. I highly recommend that the first thing you don't do is come up with a resume in one day and start applying to every job that says easy apply on Indeed or it doesn't have a hard application process. The first thing you want to do is you want to target your positions. That means create a list. Hey, these are the skills I bring to the table. These are some accomplishments. That means if you completed a class project in high school that utilized like a software, for example, Microsoft Excel, maybe you're a fast typist. Maybe you've taken a computer programming class in school. This will help you stand away from the crowd. And if you enjoy doing this, there is a market entry level for those skill sets. So I highly recommend write down what your strong suits are, those skills that you bring to the table that the average person may not bring, and build your resume around that, at least on the front end. Because I imagine a lot of you in high school don't have robust work experience, but you still have experience, you have schooling, you have accomplishments that you can bring to the table. Second off, be fully prepared to work before you apply to jobs. So that means polish your resume. My section isn't on resume building, but you want to have a fully built out resume that is as polished as possible before you apply. You also should have some references. You may not have some professional references because of work experience, but if you're applying for a job that may have some computer and mathematics focus and you have a good math grade, talk to your math teacher. See if they would be willing to be a reference. Again, reach out to people within your network. You would be surprised who would be willing to help you and who's willing to be that reference or be that support as you go through your job search. And then finally, make sure that you can actually work a regular work schedule and have reliable transportation. Every year, I come across some fantastic candidates that apply to my positions that I would love to hire. But then when we get to the offer stage, they don't have reliable transportation or they can't commit to being prepared on time at the job every day. So I have to turn them down. And it's heartbreaking on both sides. So just make sure that you are pre-planned and prepared to start work when you start applying. The final bullet point on here is about using your network. So there's a vast majority of different avenues to find a job outside of applying on LinkedIn or on Indeed. Tell your friends, tell your family. You can even reach out to a job agency and say, hey, I'm looking for work. This is what I'm looking for. Here is my resume. Do you know of anything? People like to help those that help themselves. They like to, you feel good when you do someone a favor and help them out. They'll feel the same way about you. So if they see you're working hard on getting a job, then they're probably going to help you find one. And honestly, over 50% of open positions are probably not on Indeed. So you do need to look through other avenues and then instead of just online job searches and search engines to find that right position. So how do you use a job search engine? When you do have that resume and you're ready to apply, you can see in the kind of the graphic how it used to be was people would actually know their candidates face to face. It's a lot easier to make that human connection then than it is now. For example, we hire electrical apprentices here every year. It's a very sought after entry level straight out of high school position. Let's say we hire 40 of them in 2021. We're going to have over 500 applicants. So when you apply using job search engines or just online in general, the number one thing you should think is, how do I stand out from the crowd? How is my resume not generic? How is my background not generic? How is it unique to me? And how can I bring my unique background to bring value to that company? It's often the individuals that have the most unique resumes in terms of showing their abilities and not just listing responsibilities or duties. Those are the individuals that typically get called because I'm learning a lot more about them on that resume and through that application than the typical candidate. So some effective tips when you use a job search engine. First off, identify the type of job you like in terms of the skills like I mentioned earlier. Make sure to list out the skills that you bring to the table that you actually enjoy doing and start your job search there. For example, I'm a recruiter. Sometimes I call it talent acquisition specialist. If I type recruiter, I may miss out on some jobs that are titled talent acquisition specialist and vice versa. If I search for responsibilities or softwares that are recruitment based, I will get a lot more of a targeted search when I go online. So really start with those skills you identified earlier and search for specific jobs through that. Second off, try to find some trends in your search. If you're noticing that one industry is a lot more in demand than other industries for a specific job, or you see one title across all industries and you're interested in that job, maybe you should tailor your resume to that specific industry or that specific job title to better match those roles. If they're in demand in the market right now and a few companies are looking for that role, it's likely every company is looking for that. So use that to your advantage, and it will help you get your foot in the door. And finally, when it comes to using job search engines, I highly recommend that if you identify a job, it looks like you're a good fit for it, you want to apply, don't apply using that job search engine. Go to their corporate website and apply. It lets a recruiter know that one, you looked at the website, you actually did a little research. You didn't just hit easy apply on Indeed. Two, you're almost guaranteed that that recruiter is going to see your application and your resume because it's not coming through a third party. It's going directly through their website. Essentially, you don't have to compete with quite as many people when you apply directly online. Now, the final thing I really want to focus on is qualifying yourself for a job opening. I see a lot of people look at a possible posting online and they talk themselves out of applying. They talk themselves out when they are qualified for the job. So when we post positions online, we post looking for that perfect rock star, that 100% hits everything that we're looking for. But candidly, that doesn't really exist. I mean, maybe a handful of my jobs every year, I find that 10 out of 10 and it's an easy fill. But honestly, most of the hires that we do, we're looking for someone that hits about 70 to 80% of what's on the posting, knowing that we're willing to train for that remaining 25%. So when you're qualifying yourself for a job posting, look at the responsibilities before you look at the qualifications. If you feel comfortable with those responsibilities and that you could hit those responsibilities on day one, or at least the vast majority of them, it's probably something that is worth applying to. If you're reading those responsibilities and there's a lot of, oh, I don't know what that is, or it might take me a little bit of time to get there, you might have to do some research, or it might be a little too advanced for where you are in your career. Now, when you do look at the qualifications, oftentimes the first one everyone looks at is the years of experience. How many times I hear, I don't have any work experience. How am I supposed to get an entry-level job with 1 year or 3 years of work experience? Those are guidelines. Simply put, it's not a hard and fast rule. I can't tell you the amount of times where, I've had 3+ years of experience on a job posting, and I heard someone with 1 or 1.5 years of experience. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for someone that's going to be a good fit. And if you're shying away from a job, even if you're comfortable with the responsibilities, just because it says 3+ years, my main concern is, are you confident in yourself enough to do the job? If you focus simply on the responsibilities and the core black and white facts of what the job requires to be successful, and you apply based on that, you would be amazed at how many people call you, even if you don't hit those years of experience. And also, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So take that shot. It's not going to take that long to apply to a job. And even if you don't get it, they may call you for another job that's not posted and be like, hey, you may not be a good fit for job A, but we got job B that's going to start next month. I don't have it posted. Why don't we just consider you for this role? It'll save the recruiter a ton of time in terms of sourcing and finding that job. And you have a lot less competition. In fact, you may have no competition for that job search at that end. So those are the main things I would recommend in terms of qualifying yourself for a position, looking through a job description and making sure it's a good fit. Before I get into any questions that you may have, I just want to recap by saying, again, job hunting is hard. It is really hard. So when you start this, you want to make sure you're starting with their best foot forward. Have your professional documents, have them polished, have your network of people know that you're looking for work and helping you find it. Apply directly on the job websites if possible, instead of through a third-party site. And apply to the jobs that you feel comfortable doing based on responsibilities. Don't hold yourself back just because the posting doesn't fit 10 out of 10 of the expectations that it states. So those, I suppose, are my main focus, my main guidelines and tips for job hunting. At this time, I want to open the floor to any questions that you guys may have. I'd love to answer them.
Okay, and if you would be willing to stop sharing your screen, Alex, that way we can see your face a little bit more, but that'd be nice.
That better?
Fantastic. I'm going to, in just a couple seconds, we do have a chat box open. If there's teachers, if there's students, anybody who's on here and you want to answer questions into the chat box, please do so. Krista, myself, Alex are reviewing those. If there's anybody who has a question, especially if you have a teacher with a classroom full of students, I will give pauses between moments here to allow you to answer questions. I will tell you though, I've had a lot of jobs. Part of the reason I'm in the role that I am, feel very comfortable and confident when it comes to job searching, interviewing, resume writing, all those things. But Alex, you just taught me something new today that I was really excited about, because I have done for job searches through job search engines. But it's what I just heard from you is it's okay to find them there, but go back, and as long as you're able to apply through the website, go that route. So that was a cool new tip. I thought also what you said, I'm 100% in agreement about the not thinking you have to be qualified and meet every single qualification. So that was another great call. So one question that came out is, what are some entry-level positions in your field of work? And are there any specific qualifications?
Yeah, so our entry-level positions all require a level of mechanical aptitude. Again, at our core at Feyen Zylstra, we are electricians or work in the electrical space. So a very popular entry-level position we have is a fabricator, someone that builds the actual electrical components, the customized electrical components that are installed out in the field. So anyone that's had a shop class before, is comfortable working with hand tools, those are the individuals that we commonly hire for that role. We hire them also directly out of high school. That is completely normal. Another one I touched on is the electrical apprenticeship. I highly recommend, if you're interested in working with your hands and you don't feel like college is the right fit for you, try a skilled trade apprenticeship. Not only are you working full time, you're not paying for it, the company is paying for everything. But at the end of the 4-year program, electricians, it's 4 years, you are a licensed electrician or a licensed tradesman, and you have the best job security in the world. I don't know a single electrician that's hurting to find work ever. It's truly going into a trades, if you don't feel like college is the right fit for you, is something I would highly recommend everyone considering.
You know, let me throw out this too, a question that's not specifically around the job search, but when it comes to the trades, a lot of times people say, well, oh, if you want to go into the trades, you don't go to college. And if you want to go into other, do you have people in your at Feyen Zylstra who have both, people without a college degree and a lot of experience, and people who have a college degree? I mean, does it have to be one or the other?
Absolutely. So the great thing about college is you can always attend. Age is not a factor. So a very common career path for us is you'll become electrical apprentice and then a licensed or master electrician from there, which is a 4 to 6 year program respectively. At that point, if you wanted to become an engineer, like an electrical engineer, that's a very common career path internally. And the great thing about our company and most companies is they will pay for your tuition. So by going down this career path, you could be a licensed electrician, electrical engineer, and you'll have zero college debt because your trade, like your apprenticeship, is fully paid for by the company and your bachelor's degree is fully paid for by the company.
Awesome.
And perfectly candid, I am 29 years old. If I went that path, I would have no college debt and I would still have my bachelor's degree right now.
Yeah, I say the same thing. All right, I'm going to pause for, I have a list of questions that I can ask, but I want to pause for 5 seconds because if there's questions out there, I would love to hear your questions, students. Okay, quick pause. So I'll break. Think of it as, again, I'm going to ask a question that has been brought up. Is it a good idea for a person to contact a company if they're applying for a job, or Should they just leave it to their application and then possibly a resume and turn that in? Or will, I guess, reaching out, will that come across as desperate or annoying?
I don't think reaching out it would be considered desperate, but I wouldn't recommend it either. So here's my thoughts on that. If you apply to a position, ideally they should not ghost you. If you don't get the job, you should be getting some notification or email that you did not get that position, or they'll call you to consider an interview. Now, if it's been quite a few weeks and you haven't heard anything, it might be a good idea to reach out because on their end, they should give you a heads up on if they're moving forward or not. Because again, many employers don't respond. What I would recommend is if you want to make that human connection, that face-to-face connection with a company, which again is harder now in a COVID world than it ever has been, is try to find either like almost like a college career fair or a trade show or some kind of networking event that that company will be at. Because one, you'll really get to know the individuals if you go to those events. And two, if you tell the individuals at those events that work at the company you want to work for that you want to work there, they're going to come back to their company, talk to their talent acquisition people and say, hey, there's this guy who's really enthusiastic about joining our company. Where did we land on him? Did we consider him or her? Where are we going? And having someone inside the company that is fighting on your behalf is probably the best place to be if you want to join.
Great call out. Great call out. And so sometimes that is your best way to make the face-to-face and stick in people's minds. So I think a lot of young people would never think about networking events, which we'll talk about tomorrow. We'll talk about networking, but that's a great way to kind of make your put a face to a name. So there's another question. How has your recruitment changed with COVID and limit to face-to-face events?
Yeah. So it's certainly changed. One advantage of our company is we're a technology company. So we utilize a lot of like video recording, Teams meetings kind of situations just like we're having right now. So all of our interviewing that was on site has become video interviews. We rely a lot more on finding candidates that are very tech savvy. Partially because that's the work that we do now, but even in non-tech savvy roles, like our construction workers, for example, all the communications now are happening online. They're all happening through different tech services. So I'm looking for candidates now more than ever that know how to communicate professionally using technology and know how to manipulate technology well. I know that's probably not an issue for a lot of the people hearing this today. And I would recommend saying that is one of your strengths that a lot of other individuals may not have to help make up for your lack of years of work experience would be your tech savviness. So play that up, utilize it to help you get your foot in the door.
Great. Okay, one or two more questions here. One is, what happens if I don't hear back from anybody? I send an application in and they haven't responded to me. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. Should I just chalk it up as no good, or is it okay to follow up with somebody, even if it's
absolutely okay to follow up if you haven't heard anything? Now, if you haven't heard anything in a week or two, I think that's kind of unreasonable. Again, if there's 500, 600 applicants, it's going to take more than a week or two to properly vet through everyone. But if it's been over a month since you've applied, or if you don't see the job posting online anymore, but you haven't heard anything back, I do think it's appropriate to reach out, send a friendly email, or leave a voicemail saying, hey, I applied. I just want to know where the status is on this job. And if I wasn't considered, could you tell me why I wasn't considered, or could I be considered for future roles that are similar? That's more than appropriate, because at that point, it's kind of on the recruiter's end to reach out to you and let you know where you stand.
Great. One final question for you. This is kind of a big picture, but also with regards to job searching. What's the best way? How can a student find jobs that match up with their skills and interests? You kind of alluded a little bit earlier. You kind of said doing some of that work. How does a student say, I don't even know what I want? Where do I start?
You start by identifying the skills you have and the things you enjoy doing. So when it comes to finding the job, don't look for the perfect job. Look for a good job that you would like and build off of it. So if you find a job that, again, hits 50, 60, 70% of things that you're interested in, take that leap, build some work experience. When you're there, you're really going to know what I like about this job and what I dislike. And you can course correct as you move forward. But if you've got 3 years of work experience on your resume, and maybe you didn't love those jobs, but you picked up a lot of skills along the way, you're going to find that job you love. If you waited 3 years with no work experience for the perfect position, you're never going to find it. Or if you do find it, you're never going to get considered for it. So I think the biggest thing is putting yourself out there and just learning through experience.
Awesome. That's a great response. Thank you so much for that. I just want to wrap up. I've got just a couple last slides here, a few slides that I wanted to cover, and then we'll wrap up with that. Let me switch back to my presenter.
One last thing I want to mention.
Yes,
So
please.
I highly recommend, even without work experience, or if you do, create a LinkedIn profile. That way you can apply to jobs that are on LinkedIn. There are a ton of entry-level jobs on LinkedIn, and the barrier to finding them, making that profile, is more than just going on Indeed. Also, if you make the LinkedIn profile and you add me, I will gladly answer any questions you may have moving forward.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to wrap up here. I'm going to ask, this is a brand new program we're doing, and so we really do want feedback. This is for people who are here today or people watching online. Please give us feedback. We've created a couple of links for both students and educators, bit.ly/career prep jobs -student for students to get your feedback on what you thought of today. And for educators, bit.ly/career prep jobs -educator. We definitely appreciate your time and energy, everybody, for coming. Alex, definitely appreciate you too so much for coming and giving us some tips for us today. Thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Been a pleasure.